Hey guys, this is Market Update. I'm still really constructive for the rest of this bull market. I still think we go a lot higher and a lot longer than people expect. But the influences on the Bitcoin price are just way different this time. If you look at the buyers, individuals are selling down, right? They're taking profits right now. And that's going towards funds and corporates and businesses who are now mopping up the BTC. But that means the price action is just going to be different. And then if you look at the influences on the Bitcoin price this cycle as well, it's all on the fiscal side. The central bank hasn't really moved in the States. Other central banks are moving, which can help, but it's really the States that is going to really push the price one way or another. In the last cycle, right here, the central bank dropped rates to zero and just printed loads of money. And so we went straight up. We've had a really good bull market, but it's much more choppy, right? And there's much more profit taking and chop when you get that breakout or over much longer periods. Very different price action. It drives people insane to get this choppy trade, right? You think you're breaking out, you get that profit taking again. It's just what it is. So this 100K level, it's just so key, right? 100K is obviously a massive area where a lot of individuals are going to be taking profits. If you've been in this cycle or for previous cycles, or if you've dollar cost averaged for any amount of time, you're in huge profit, right? And so that 100K level is going to be an area where a lot of people are distributing. And you can see that, right? Individuals are letting crypto go, they're letting Bitcoin go, and it's going to funds and businesses who are going to tie up the Bitcoin for a lot longer. But you know, it's not the individual bull market that we usually see. But I do think it goes on longer because we've got tax cuts coming and just a lot down the pipeline, which I'll explain in this video. Now, I have updated the crypto course this month and there's a 20% discount. So if you just type BTC at checkout, you get 20% off. Get all these videos updated for free over time. And you can see my latest updates here as well. If you've got the course already, that's free for you. So I've updated that in the private Discord groups as well. If you just click the link, you can go through, see all these videos. But BTC at checkout, you get 20% off. I'll leave the link down in the description. We've all seen the Bitcoin chart versus global money supply at this point. You can see they're very highly correlated. If we continue this correlation, you're looking at May into June, very, very positive for the Bitcoin price. So despite a lot of profit taking, and I get that, the stock market did great yesterday. Bitcoin did great over the last few days and the weekend, right? Front running that. So maybe some profit taking here makes sense. But if this correlation continues, we're going a lot higher over the next few months. Now I've got some trades on as well, which I'll be updating in the Discord server for crypto course members. Just give me some updates on those because one of them is a June expiry, and then I've got a perps trade as well, going on a little bit further than that, I think. So I'll update you guys in the crypto course. But look, individuals are selling out, and I get it. 100K, that's a level where a lot of people would have said, you know what, I'm going to take some profits there. You know, I'm going to take a chunk of cash, put a deposit on a house, or pay off the house, or you know, anything else that people want to do. So I get it, and that's going to businesses, funds, and they're just different types of traders. You can see the last two bull markets, huge bull markets, right? Basically just straight up after you get that breakout. We're not seeing that at this point, right? It's much more choppy and frustrating, the trade. But that's just what happens when you get more institutions in, right? You have all the income funds now on Bitcoin, which, you know, what are they doing? Well, they're selling Bitcoin, right? You're getting income because you're selling Bitcoin. You're putting money into the fund. They're selling covered calls. They're getting called. They're selling the BTC. That can potentially draw some, you know, not some selling pressure, but it just potentially dampens volatility. I mean, that's what they're doing, right? Income funds are selling volatility for cash. And so you're selling the volatility, you may crush that volatility to the upside. So you've got all of these different traders and hedge funds, and their job is actually not to buy and hold BTC. Their job is to sell volatility for cash. And so that's what you're seeing, right? You're seeing dampening slightly of that, but a more constructive, longer term uptrend. So, you know, pick your poison, right? But for me anyway, you know, I'm not going to get bearish or look at taking profits until Bitcoin breaks out decisively of this kind of 100K level and then into this top zone here where Bitcoin goes up into the upper bound. That is really, for me, an area where, look, you can't be taking long trades here. You can't have another bull market after the bull market. Bitcoin usually tends to draw down there. I think we've got a long way to go because if you look forward over the next six months or so, 12 months or so, you know, you've got tax cuts coming, and look, tariffs are coming down. They want to pump the markets. They want to get GDP higher. And we'll look at the fiscal side of things. It's not looking great. And so they need to get GDP higher. And then that's when the central bank potentially steps in as well. So I think there's a lot to come, but it's going to be slow and frustrating. It's not like the last bull market where something happens and then you just get zero interest rates and money printing. I think it's different this time, right? And so we have to be a little bit more patient. Trueflation is forecasting 2.3% for the CPI. That number will come out later today as of making this video. So coming back to target. Right now, the Fed don't look at CPI really, they look at PCE, which is their measure of inflation. That's coming down to 2% as well. That's got a lot of lagging indicators that will continue to disinflate over the rest of this year. So we're going to get probably underneath the 2% target for inflation. So why aren't the Fed cutting? I just don't think they need to right now. What's the need right now to cut? Right, you had all of the tariff tantrum. They can't cut in the middle of that, and they don't know what's going to happen. So now we know really that tariffs are going to be probably 10%, and that's about it. So then they can look forward and really just focus on unemployment. Unemployment is still not very loose, right? Not very high. So they don't really need to cut right now. I think they're just fine, just where they are. They don't need to cut. And if something happens, if you get a big slowdown in growth, then they can actually cut. But right now, yeah, just stay where you are. You can see huge disinflationary pressures though. Gasoline is down. A lot of other prices are down here. OPEC is pumping huge amounts of oil and gas right now despite a slowdown worldwide. I think that's just a negotiation where everyone has come to the table and said, look, let's get energy prices down, disinflate everything. That gives us the cover to then go through the next round of stimulus. That's what they all want, right? That's the game. You can't pay off the debt because the debt is the currency. Everyone has claims on that currency. You can't cancel people's money, right? And so the only way to make the debt to GDP better off is to grow the GDP side through stimulus. That's the game forever and always. So that's the cycle that we're in, right? And so we're just looking for the next round of stimulus. China's consumer deflation extends, so they're looking to negotiate. They want to stimulate, but everything is off the dollar. The Fed is not in a position to do anything crazy right now. Let's just get the negotiations done over time, and then after that, after all the data is out, then you can lower interest rates, fiscal stimulus, debt creation, create that GDP, because you can't pay off the debt. You can't cancel people's money. That is people's money. The debt is the currency. The currency is a debt. So you have to grow GDP to try and reduce debt to GDP. But I don't think it's going to happen because it's unpayable. The debt is unpayable. That's where we're in Bitcoin, right? Congressional budget plan puts US spending at an 8% deficit. You can see the tax plan here. 4 trillion in tax cuts, 1.5 trillion in spending cuts, another 2.5 trillion added to the deficit. Just imagine if they actually chose austerity and said, we aren't paying the deficits anymore, right? We are actually going to not cut tax, we're going to raise taxes, and we're going to reduce spending, and we're going to balance the budget. What would happen to prices worldwide? They would go negative 50%, right? That's the game. We're all basically in this game of knowing that we're just kicking the can down the road and all the prices that we're paying for things aren't the right price. This is the game. Stimulate, stimulate, stimulate. No one wants austerity. And so if you're in the currency and you're a bondholder, you're getting absolutely wrecked. That's why we're in assets. Amazing for stocks, gold, and Bitcoin. That is the long-term investment case, right? Yes, 10% tariff. Yes, they're going to give all of that back through tax cuts anyway. Fiscal stimulus, more debt creation, more currency creation, more GDP stimulus, which is going to stimulate GDP upwards, debase the currency. Bondholders are going to get wrecked. And if you're in hard assets, I think you'll do okay. So same old, and everything carries on as normal. The May update is right here. If you have the course already, that's free for you. And there's a 20% code. You can type BTC at checkout to get that. I'll link it in the description. If you trade crypto as well, you can get a deposit bonus on Bybit. If you trade on there up to $30,000, link in the description as well. I'm James, this is MoneyZG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.